Welcome to Dream, where we are focused on connecting to and building community. We are committed to helping individuals break cycles. We are delighted that you have taken the opportunity to join us. So prepare yourselves for this week's teaching and equipping session. Get ready to be educated, equipped, and set free as you listen to this week's broadcast. And thank you for joining us.
Hello, Dream family. I am Ky Cunningham, Pastor Ky from the Dream Team Chattanooga, Dream Chattanooga, or Dream South. We announced earlier this month that Dream was launching a second location. It's going to be the Dream South location, which will be housed here in the beautiful Chattanooga, Tennessee. So if you are near the area, you will soon be able to join us in Chattanooga, and we are so excited for this. Pastor Ken and I have just been gearing up and getting plans together and working with the Dream Team to get everything situated on this side. And we have been bringing some fire word this month. So we've taken over Truth Tuesday. And so you guys have another Truth Tuesday with moi, Pastor Ky. And so I am going to bring a fantastic message tonight. I started studying this last week, and when I found it in the Bible and just read through it, it's interesting how you can read verses over and over and over again, and every time you get something new that you didn't catch the first time. And this was a revelation for me. I'm going to be forthcoming with all of you and just let you know up front, this may be a touchy subject for a few, but God had to deal with me first. I was up first. And so as I deliver this word, the way God delivered it to me, I pray that it resonates with his people, that you guys will hear it, you'll receive it, and that it will plant seeds that the enemy will not be able to tear out of you, or that he will not be able to remove or burn up. So I am so excited for this word to go forth. So let's get started. First of all, let's do some housekeeping. Again, I'm Pastor Ky with DREEMM. DREEMM stands for Deliverance, Restoration, Education, and Empowerment for Me Ministries. So I am with DREEMM. Our location in Cincinnati, in case you want to visit us in Cincinnati area, we are at 636 Northland Blvd in Forest Park, Ohio. So you can join us on Sunday mornings. We meet for 1 hour from 9 to 10 a.m. We also have Men's Empowerment, which is every Monday at 7 p.m. The women, we have Sister to Sister. We meet every first and third Monday at 7 p.m. So you can definitely meet us for that. We are not meeting this Monday coming up. It is the next Monday. That will be the official first Monday of the month. For those of you who want to know, what do? We help individuals and families break cycles. We are a deliverance ministry. And so we are all about breaking cycles. So let's get into it because I don't have much time and I want to be able to go through this. The subject that I'm going to use for tonight is the knock. If you guys joined us on Sunday, you heard the phenomenal word that was released by LaShawn Aiden. Oh my God, it was so powerful. And it was titled The Knock. And then last week, Pastor Ken released a word about forgiveness. And so I want to merge the two of those subjects together for Truth Tuesday tonight, and talk a little bit about that knock for forgiveness, that liberation or that freedom that comes when we forgive. Again, this started with Ky first. It didn't start anywhere else. God brought it right to me first and said, you need to forgive first. And I thought I had forgiven everything. And God was like, no, there's still something there. Let's deal with that. And so tonight I am going to talk to you about liberation or freedom that comes not only when you forgive, but what happens when God causes you to forgive somebody because you are the deliverer of that person. You're going to be the one who speaks life into that person who's hurt you, that person who's betrayed you, that person who's caused you so much pain that you're going, if I see this person, I'm not speaking to them, but I don't wish them ill will or anything like that, but I'm not talking to them. If I never see them again in life, I'm good with that too. But I forgive you, but I don't want to see them. If I do have to talk to them, I might have some few choice words for them because I'm still a little hurt behind what they did. This one is for you because God may have positioned you in such a place where you may have to deliver a word to that person. And it may be a word of, let me introduce Christ to you, even though you've hurt me. You may be the one that God uses to plant the seed. Oh, yeah, I told y'all this was going to be hard, and I'm coming right down your street. So I hope everybody is ready. Let's get into this. Let's start with Acts. I know for this one, I could go Exodus route, but I love the way Stephen just delivered this and summed it all up into one message, just a few verses, but he summed up a whole story so beautifully. And this is a story that I want to sum up tonight when we talk about being not only the person that has to forgive, but now God is calling me to go help the people that I need to forgive. Wait a minute. Hold on, God. Wait a minute. Can you use somebody else? Can somebody else sign up to be the deliverer of these people? Because I don't want to do it. And this is where we find Moses at. He is in an interesting place. And it wasn't until this week that I went back and reread the story last week that I began to look at it with different lenses. From the standpoint of what Moses may have been feeling. And then going back and reading Exodus again, and then going back and reading Acts again. So we're just going to jump into Acts. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull it up here. And I said Acts 17. So we're going to start at 17 and we're going to go to the 36th verse. Okay, so Acts 17, it says, as the time drew near for God to fulfill his promise to Abraham, the number of people in Egypt had greatly increased. Then a new king to whom Joseph meant nothing came to power in Egypt. He dealt treacherously with our people and oppressed our ancestors by forcing them to throw out their newborn babies so that they would die. At that time, Moses was born and he was no ordinary child. For 3 months, he was cared for by his family. So although the Pharaoh had gave this order that, listen, all babies have got to be, if there's a male child, kill them. Moses was able to be hidden for 3 months. And so this is what's happening at this time. So for 3 months, he was cared for by his family. And when he was placed outside, Pharaoh's daughter took him and brought him up as her own son. Moses was educated in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was powerful in speech and actions. When Moses was 40 years old, he decided to visit his own people, the Israelites. He grew up in a house knowing, I'm not one of them. I'm an outsider. I'm an insider that's an outsider. So I'm inside the palace, but everybody know I don't belong here. I've been given all of these benefits as if I was an Egyptian, but I really don't get to really enjoy them to the fulfillment of a full-blooded Egyptian because I'm not them. I would equate this to being either having a step parent who treats you like you are a stepchild. You are not my biological child. You are a stepchild. You are over there. That's you, your daddy's child. You, your mama's child. That's it. I don't want to. I'm. That's where you are. Or having being adopted. Being somebody who's adopted and you're in this family and you have the benefits of being a part of a family, but you're not really a part of this family because I am not your biological child. So you feel that connection, but that separation at the same time. And so it says, where do we leave off? 22. Moses was educated in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was powerful in speech and in action. When Moses was 40 years old, he decided to visit his people, the Israelites. He saw one of them being mistreated by an Egyptian. So he went to his defense and avenged him by killing the Egyptian. So he saw one of the Israelites was being beat up on or mistreated by an Egyptian, and really they had to take it. There was nothing you can do. You can't fight back. And so Moses said, enough is enough. I'm jumping in. I'm gonna deal with this situation. I'm going to kill this Egyptian for what he's doing to this Israelite, which is my people. He went to visit his own people. And Moses thought that his own people would realize that God was using him to rescue them, but they did not. The next day, Moses came upon two Israelites who were fighting. He tried to reconcile them by saying, "Men, you are brothers. Why do you want to hurt each other?" Like he's trying to be the peacemaker. Hey, we all the same thing. Y'all brothers, why are y'all fighting? Stop this. Let's live together. Let's be happy. And in verse 27, it says, "But the men who was mistreating the other pushed Moses aside and said, 'Who made you ruler and judge over us? Who gave you the authority to tell us what to do?'" Wait a minute, where you come from? And not even recognizing him in a reverence of he's one of us. It was almost like, wait a minute, who told you you could tell us what to do? Who are you? Have you ever had a conversation with somebody where you really came in peace, but they went left real quick? And you like, wait a minute, what happened? Well, you still trying to figure out what's going on here, but the conversation has went to a whole nother level. That is where he is with this gentleman. And so the man goes on to say, "Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian yesterday? What was done in the dark has now come to the light, and everybody know what's happening." So in verse 29, it says, "When Moses heard this, he fled to Midian, where he settled as a foreigner and had two sons." It also, I'm gonna keep reading and then I'm gonna go ahead and read the Exodus version. It says, "After 40 years had passed, an angel appeared to Moses in flames of a burning bush in the desert near Mount Sinai. When he saw this, he was amazed at the sight. As he went over to get a closer look, he heard the Lord say, 'I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.' Moses trembled with fear and did not dare to look." 33. Then the Lord said to him, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. I have indeed seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. I have heard their groaning and have come down to set them free. Now come, I will send you back to Egypt." 35. This is the same Moses they had rejected with the words, "Who made you ruler and judge?" He was sent to be their ruler and deliverer by God himself. Through the angel who appeared to him in the bush, he led them out of Egypt and performed wonders and signs in Egypt at the Red Sea and for 40 years in the wilderness. I want to stop right there. Let's go back to 35. It says, "This is the same Moses that they had rejected with their words. Who made you ruler and judge?" He was then sent to be their ruler and deliverer by God himself. This week was an interesting week for me, as I said, because God had to show me first. And he had to show me that there are still some places in you where you haven't forgiven. You have said, "I forgive," but you haven't actually forgiven because you're not in contact with the person. But I'm going to send you back to that person because I need you to give them a word. And the word is you're going to have to deliver, is going to have to be not a word of God is going to get you, but God still loves you. It is easy to do that when it's somebody you're in relationship with, when it's somebody you still care about, when it's somebody you still friends with, when it's somebody, maybe an old high school friend. But it is much harder to do that when it is somebody who has hurt you to a level that you've thought, if I never see this person again, I'm good. I'm good. And God had to show me this week that forgiveness is not just for the person. We say that, but do you understand the liberation that's in it for you? I think sometimes we think that, and I know I thought this, this was my way of protecting myself. And I don't want to talk about anybody else or put any boundaries on anybody else. I'm just going to use myself as an example. It's easier to put those boundaries up and go, you know what, as long as I stay in my space and you stay in yours over there, we good. And we have not crossed paths maybe a decade. Like maybe a decade. Like if this person saw me today, probably wouldn't even know who I was. And that's how long it's been. But God is saying, I'm calling you to go back to that person to sow this seed. Because I want that person to have relationship with me. And I need you to be that example. We ask God to forgive us for everything we've done wrong. God, forgive me for my sin. And God forgives us. He never throws it back in your face again to say, oh, Ky, remember you did such and such and so and so. Oh, Brenda Sue, remember you said ... last time. He never brings it up again. It is the enemy who'll bring it back up in your memories, or your conscience will bring it back up and you'll go, oh, I remember that time I did that. God, I'm sorry. Why did I do that? I am so sorry for that. God's already forgot it. It's gone. It's covered under the blood. Then how can we as Christians not extend that same grace, especially if we are supposed to be followers of Christ, if we're supposed to be like him, if we're supposed to strive to be more like him, then how can we do that when we are still harboring resentment, anger, frustration, unforgiveness in our hearts towards somebody who's hurt us? And when I say hurt us, I mean, let's go on a whole nother level of hurt. Not that person who cheated on you in high school and broke your heart. No, how about the person who did something more serious than that to you? What about the person who cursed you out, in your childhood? What about the person who was verbally or physically abusive towards you? Can you forgive that person? And that is a much harder thing to do than to say, the high school sweetheart that I was in love with 34 years, 37, 12, I don't know, some amount of years ago. It's much easier for me to forgive that person than somebody who did something a little bit more serious to me. And so that's where God has been dealing with me this weekend, is that unforgiveness, that level of unforgiveness. And so let's dive into that, because this is what's happening with Moses. Moses is at a point where I am struggling. God is telling me to go back to them. And in the Bible, it does talk about Moses saying, can you send somebody else? Like, can somebody else do this? I ran from that place. Like I had to get out of there so fast, so quick, and in a hurry. I ran. The Pharaoh who was over the people at that time was trying to kill Moses. Like that's how serious his I gotta go was. I gotta get out of here. And now God is telling you, go back to the place that you ran from. Go back into the place where your trauma still lives. Because I have people there that I want to deliver, and I'm going to use you to deliver those people. So you're going to have to go back to the place that you probably said, I'll never go back to. I ain't never going back home again. My childhood was too crazy, Ky. If you knew the things that I had to deal with, I'm never going back. I don't talk to my mama to this day. I don't talk to my daddy. I don't talk to my grandmama, my auntie, my cousin, all of them crazy. I don't talk to none of them because of all the stuff that I had to deal with in my childhood. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you because that's where I was this week or last week. That's where I was. Let's go to Exodus. Let's look at it. Let's look at it from that perspective. Let's go to Exodus 2. And we are going to start at verse 11. Exodus 2 and 11. It says, one day after Moses had grown up, he went out to where his people were and watched them as their hard labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. Looking this way and that, seeing no one, He looked left, he looked right. He said, hey, ain't nobody out here. Can't nobody see me. Okay. And so then he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. The next day when he went out, he saw two Hebrews fighting. He asked the one in the wrong, why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew? And the man said, who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian? Then Moses said, Moses was afraid and thought, what I did must have become known. When Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses, but Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to Midian. So this is where we see, the fear coming and Moses leaving. And God is telling him, go back to that place. And then God gave him several signs. This is what you're going to do. When you put your hand in your cloak, pull your hand out. Okay, now you have leprous all over your hand, leprosy. Now put your hand back in your cloak. He pulled it out. His hand was fine. Throw down the staff. The staff became a snake. Now, I thought about that, y'all, as I was reading it. And anybody who knows me for real know I don't like snakes. So I was like, God, you would have had to give me a warning. This is what's about to happen. I'm just telling you right quick so you know. Don't freak out. And it says in Exodus, actually, Moses ran from the snake. That would have been me. I'm out of here. I'm going somewhere else. I'm not about to do this, God. I'm out. And then God said, pick it up by the tail. Wait a minute, Lord. Pick it up by the tail. And when he picked it up, it moved back to a staff. God sent somebody else. This is not for your Ky. I don't know who's supposed to go, but it ain't me. But God gave him several different signs that he was going to give to Pharaoh to let Pharaoh know God is serious about this thing. Let his people go. He goes in and he starts talking to Pharaoh. He does tell him, he does perform the signs. And it says that God hardened Pharaoh's heart against Moses. And then he made the work for the people, the Israelites, even more harder. So he told them, listen, instead of giving them straw for these bricks, they need to go find their own straw. And then on top of that, I'm not going to make it so that their work is easier or lower the amount or quantity that they have to produce of bricks. I'm going to keep it at the same level. And so now they're even more mad at Moses. Like, what did you do? Why did you come here? Like, where did you come from? Why did you do this? And Moses is frustrated. Like, God, why did you send me here if this was going to happen? When God sends you, the information that you receive back may not be positive. It may not be the response that you want. It may not be the warm welcome that you want. It may not be the celebration. Oh my God, I'm so glad you told me this, that you want. But we have to understand when we're doing what God told us to do, when we're on assignment, and we're doing what he says to do, you got to keep doing it, even if I get a lot of rejection, even if everybody's mad, even if it gets harder. We've got to anticipate the fire being turned up against us and not feel like we're going to back down or cower down and allow the enemy to intimidate us to keep us quiet, because the enemy is studying you. And if he recognizes that, oh my God, if I intensify the warfare against Ky will get somewhere and sit down and shut up. That's what he gonna do. He's not gonna do anything any different. You about to go through all kind of warfare because I know that causes you to back down. If the thing that causes you to back down is you feeling like, everybody's rejecting me, then you're going to get lots of rejection, because I need you to stop what you're doing. And so in this, what Moses had to do was keep going back to Pharaoh over and over again. God said, tell you, let his people go, and you're gonna get flies. God said, let his people go, and there's gonna be some frogs coming. There's gonna be mosquitoes coming. There's gonna be locusts coming. There's gonna be water. The Nile River is gonna turn to blood because you won't let his people go. And every time Pharaoh said no, God would intensify the attack against him. And I know LaShawn released a word, and I'm going to have to go back and find that so I can reshare it again. But Sean went into not only the different types of plagues and things that God released, but she also went into a deep dive of what was happening, like what kind of viruses came from that, what kind of sicknesses came behind the flies, what kind of other things may have come behind that. And so I want to go back, and it was a couple of years ago. Sean, I don't know if you can pin that in the comments somewhere, but I want you guys to be able to see that. And I actually wanted to go back and look at it myself, because when you're thinking of flies, your mind would only go, it's flies. There's a lot of them, but it's flies. And one of them get in your house will make you want to move. But when it's that many, a plague of them, and then what virus do flies, do bugs carry that are impacting the people? How is it impacting their food? How is it impacting their water? How is it impacting their livelihood? These are all of the other things that you may not think as you're reading through this story. And if you're not careful, you'll just read through it quickly. And so I love the fact that she gave that deep study. But that is something to think about as well, because sometimes we want, God, if you tell me to do this, I'm gonna do it, but I want it to be easy. Can you do it when it's difficult? Sometimes the things that God give us, they're not easy. Sometimes the building of our faith will make you want to stop. Sometimes it puts you in a position where you feel tested so much that you are going, oh my God, I can't. I literally cannot. And it's in those moments that we have to rely on him, that we have to call out and cry out to him, that we have to keep persevering and not quitting and not backing up and not backing down. As I talk about liberation through forgiveness this week, and I told you, it was me first. Me first. Liberation through forgiveness. It requires you to be able to fully let go and say, God, I don't want to carry anything else that would prohibit me from being able to be close to you. Anything else that will stop me from being in relationship with you. Anything that will become a stumbling block. And that unforgiveness can be that. It can be your stumbling block that will keep you. It can be an idol. It can be, that thing, that altar that's built up in the place of God. God, yeah, I love you, but do you know what they did to me? Do you know what he said to me? Do you know how she treated me? Do you know how this person, how they responded to me? I went back and I read through David. And I was just looking at the account of how many times Saul came after David, like to kill him. David is playing the harp and Saul is throwing stuff at his head, trying to take his head off. And he just keeps playing, dodging, but playing. Could that be you? Or if I knew that Saul was after me, Saul better watch his back, because I'm coming after him too. David had it in himself that he was like, touch not my anointed. I will not touch him. I will not do anything to hurt him. I will not fight him. David cut off a piece, a corner of Saul's robe, and then fell on his face crying, because he was just so distraught over it. I have sinned against God by even doing this. And it was really just to show that I got this close to you and I almost had you. I could have took you out. But immediately he felt the guilt behind it and had to immediately repent and ask for forgiveness. And even go to Saul. Saul is coming after David to kill him, but David's going to Saul to go, please forgive me. I'm sorry, I did this. Is that how you're seeking forgiveness from those people who hurt you? Are you going after them to go overtake them, to prove that I'm bigger, I'm better. You did something to me, I'm gonna do something to you. We gonna go, we gonna go back to back. You do something, I do something. You do something, I do something. And that's how it is. It's tit for tat. Or are you in a place where you're going, God, I let go? And that is a hard place to get to. So don't by any means think I'm trying to tell you it's so easy. You just forgive me. You just walk away. No. But that's where we pray. And that's where we ask God, God, teach me how to let it go. Teach me how to forgive. Teach me how to represent you when I'm around this person, when I'm not around this person, when other people are around and they see me or they hear me. Teach me how to represent you. Let's go to Matthew 18:21. Matthew 18:21 says, Jesus said unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times 7, but until 70 times 7. So this was actually, let me go to 21. I just got 22. I'm sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. They were asking how many times should we forgive? How many times should we forgive? Is it 7 times? And Jesus answered, no, not 7 times. It's 70 times 7. That's how many times you should forgive. And so when it comes to forgiveness, God, Jesus is saying, don't just forgive one time. If they did something one time and you go, okay, you did it one time, I'm fine. But if you do it again, I'm never going to forgive you again. Jesus doesn't do that to us. God doesn't do that to us. And there are so many sins that I can name right now that I've done that God could be like, definitely not that. I'm not forgiving that. No, I remember that night. No, he doesn't. And like I said earlier, he doesn't bring it back up. He doesn't mention it again. Sometimes I'll stop and think about it and just break down crying like, God, did you forgive me for that? I'm so sorry. And God is like, I'm not even thinking about that. Why are you condemning yourself over it? The same way he forgives us should be the same forgiveness that we extend to others. It should be the same forgiveness. Let's go to Luke 23:34. These next 2 examples are 2 examples that I wanted to show of the ultimate forgiveness. After everything that Jesus went through, all of the ridicule, all of people telling him he's not who he said he is, who we know he is, all of the abuse before the crucifixion, just ridiculing him, just flogging him, beating him, all of that. They put him on a cross. They nail him to the cross. And before he dies, he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He asked for the people who just took him through that. Forgive them. Father, that's what I'm going to ask you to do. Forgive them. That was the last thing he said before he died. If I want to be Christ-like, then I have to be in a place where I can forgive you and get past the hurt and still usher you into God. That is where I strive to be. I am not a finished work yet. But God brought it to my sight so I can see where the issue is, and I can start allowing him to change it inside of me so that I can honestly forgive and let go. It takes so much to hold on to the anger. And we don't understand that the anger becomes an open door. The unforgiveness becomes an open door, and it allows the enemy access into us. There are people who go into deliverance sessions needing deliverance because the open door was unforgiveness. I need deliverance because my anger is justified. If you knew what they did to me, you would understand why I'm angry all the time. But God wants to heal us of that. And like I said, he may want to use you as the vessel who plants the seed to lead them to him. I want to leave you with one last example, and then I'm going to wrap up for tonight. Acts 59 and 60. Acts 7, 59 through 60. It says, while they were stoning him, Stephen prayed, Lord Jesus, receive my spirit. Then he fell on his knees and cried out, Lord, do not hold this sin against them. When he had said this, he fell asleep. This is while he's being stoned. Also asking, God, don't forgive them. Forgive them. They stoning me right now while I'm saying this. God, forgive them. How many of us could honestly say, I could do that? I have had some stones thrown at me. I'm not even going to go back over 43 years. I'm going to just go back 43 weeks. We can just go back 5 weeks. we ain't even got to go back 43 weeks. Let's just go back 5 weeks. I've taken some stones in the last 5 weeks. And through it, I kept praying, God, help me let it go. Don't allow me to retaliate. Keep me in a place, God, where I can forgive and I can move past it. And I represent you even in this situation. Let them look at me and see you, even if they don't understand what they're doing. And I can clearly see what's happening here. I ain't blind. I can see, baby. Let me still represent you in this situation. That is easy to pray. It is hard to walk out. It is hard. But God will strengthen you in your weakness. And those areas where you're still struggling at, that's where I ask God, strengthen me in that area. Because I know it's still an issue. I know Ky ain't perfect. Listen, she's not. I still got some things that I need God to take out of me. And he reveals them to me. And I'm so thankful for that because I'm able to see where he still needs to work, where he's still refining me. I'm still a project that he is refining and making perfect. And all of us are in this position. So I don't want you to hear this message tonight and you to go, that ain't for me. She don't know what they did. I want you to hear this message and hear the Father's heart to all of his sons and his daughters. Hear his heart tonight and hear him saying to you, I need you to forgive them. I need you to let it go. I'm knocking at the door. I'm right here. I'm knocking at the door. And let me in. I can help you with this. I can get you through this. I can get you to the other side. But I need you to just open up. And I need you to forgive. The same way I forgave you. I forgave you. I need you to extend that same forgiveness to someone else. So you guys, this has been another Truth Tuesday session. I love you guys. I pray for you always. Please keep the Dream Team in your prayers. Please keep Chattanooga, Dream Chattanooga in your prayers as God finished creating what he is doing, just perfecting this thing that he's doing in the Chattanooga area. We appreciate it. And we will see you guys next Tuesday. I believe, I'm not sure if Apostle Deborah will be on or if it's Pastor Ken, but either way, it's going to be fire. And don't forget, join us Sunday. Join us Sunday morning, 9 a.m. You can watch us on YouTube, on Facebook. We're in both places. 9 a.m. For our Sunday session, and that's 9 Eastern Standard Time. All right. Look forward to seeing you guys.